So I was just sitting here doing dishes, and that's when the Lord talks to me the most. Probably because it's quiet and I'm preoccupied, and it's, yeah, He has a chance to come through. But what He was saying is that yes, I know that we've seen men, adultery, fornicating, pornography, gay, all bisexual, all these different things that come from Satan, of course, from the devil. But what God's doing, if we've noticed, there's a lot of YouTube prophets are female. There's some male, of course, male pastors and such, but He's raising up women. And I've noticed this for months because He's been raising me up as well. And I've been like, why are you raising women specifically? Like, what's the point of this type thing? And He just like gave me the message and said, it's because in the Garden of Eden, Eve was the one that the serpent tempted first, not Adam. Satan tempted Eve with the apple from the bad tree, right? And Eve ate that apple and got Adam to sin. So truthfully, maybe, we don't know, maybe Adam wouldn't have sinned if it wasn't for Eve. So she actually sinned first and got Adam to sin as well. So use that analogy symbolically as the female gender is kind of marked because they were the ones that sinned first, okay? And that's why we have the birth and the pain in childbirth and things like that. So why He's raising up women now, and we're so frustrated with the men, there's a point to this. It's kind of like we're getting punished for being the fact that we are the gender that sinned first, and we got God's creation, Adam, man, to sin because of us, okay? We talked him into it. So we're having to kind of have our husbands cheat on us, have a hard time finding a good man, seeing men, just all full of lust and things like that. That's like Eve's punishment, slash feminine punishment for being tempted by Satan, okay? But what God's doing is He's raising up some, not all women, some women, because there's some that are Jezebels that come from Satan still, and they're out to literally bring down the Eves and bring down the Adams, just like the serpent brought down Eve and brought down Adam. So those ones aren't a part of this. But for those that are Eves and not Jezebels, they are being raised up and they're getting closer to the Lord and things like that. And they're struggling with perhaps finding a man or their boyfriend or their husband, whatever it may be. Any men in their life. Even could be male bosses, fathers, male children, things like that. It's, on one hand, is God's way of trying to kind of punish the women for what they did originally. But He's not just here to punish and that's it. He's also at the same time simultaneously raising you up and getting you closer to Him, all for the goal of going and raising up your Adam, whoever that may be. So whoever is like Satan's child, Jezebel child, male or female, they're not a part of this equation. But if you're so-called like a good woman, you're an Eve, and you're dealing with men in your life that are good men, they're Adams, but you're seeing them kind of falling into the traps of sin, this is all, it's not you per se, it's intentional, it's worldwide. And the end goal of this is, while there might be some suffering, some heartbreak, some hardship, some loneliness, whatever it may be, God's purpose in this is so that the women go first. So the woman's, Eve, sinned first, and then Adam sinned second, right? Well, now in return, to pay that back, so to speak, Eve has to clear the slate first and bring Adam up. So she's almost retributing what she did, like paying back for what she did. And then so Adam sinned second, and now he's going to be raised up second. So it's almost like as if Eve tripped Adam, and he's been laying down on the ground, and now God's helping her to lift him up. And so the purpose of this is that it's a twofold thing. So in God's eyes, the females, the Eves, have cleared their slate with Him for being tempted and tempting Adam, and getting them fallen into sin. But the women are also becoming closer to the Lord, which is a win-win, of course. And then in turn, in time, they're going to bring the males, the Adams in their lives, to the Lord as well. And of course, this can apply to any Adam, like your father, your child, your brother, your male boss, whatever the male masculine figure may be, that's an Adam. Again, if this person is a Jezebel, a child of Satan, this will not apply. And if you're a child of Satan, a Jezebel, this will not apply. This message is strictly for Eves and Adams. So those Eves out there that have turned to the Lord, you've been becoming a Proverbs 31 woman, you're not a Jezebel, but yet you notice that your husband's detached, or your your partner, your brother, whatever it may be, your close relationship, this person was so-called like a good person, or would be a good person, but you see them sinning, outright sinning. That is hard, I know, but God wants you to be strong and just keep going to him. Don't give up, because the whole point of it is that not only will you be raised up and pay back for the sin of Eve as the female race, but you'll also be raising up the masculines as well. And so not only are you relying on yourself, and your children are relying on you if you have them, but your Adam, aka partner, specific, like any male, but God's telling me specifically to Adams and Eves, like partnerships, that person is going to get raised up as well. So even if, say, like this person was, say, like a straight man, and you've noticed that they're now gay or bisexual, God can fix that as well. He can turn that around too. Because all of that, there's a battle right now. Obviously we know this, but there's a hardcore battle between Satan and God. And we don't think there is because we don't see it, but it actually is happening. So every single day, Satan, well, he doesn't sleep. He tries 24/7 to recruit more and more and more of these Adams into Jezebels. But God is working the same amount of time, overtime. Well, God's telling me he doesn't have to work as hard as Satan. Of course he doesn't. He's like, I can sleep. I don't need to be going 24/7 like Satan does. I just do one touch and that's that. Satan has to work for a week to do what I do in 1 minute. But God is working at the same time to turn these Adams around. But I know you've prayed to God and said, well, God, why can't you just touch him and make this better, and everything could be roses and butterflies? God can do that, but that's not going to happen for the females because we sinned. Eve is our great grandmother, so to speak, if you want to look at it that way, and she sinned. So we have to atone for what she's done, right? And so that's why you're seeing a little bit of progress, but also not. A little bit of progress and also not, is because you are making progress. You are doing something. You are shaking things up and moving mountains. But you have to atone for what Eve did, as long as you're a female Eve and not a Jezebel. Now beware, because Satan is on the prowl, so he's trying to make you as an Eve turn into a Jezebel. So don't let that happen. And he's also trying to actively 24/7 turn these Adams into Jezebels. So don't be shocked, don't be surprised if you're seeing things that are like bad or sinful or negative or anything like that. Just be strong, be that Proverbs 31 woman, get close to the Lord. And as you do this, you're going to raise up these Adams. It might not be today, might not be next week. It might take some time. God's telling me for every Eve it's different. However, the more you do as a Proverbs 31, use that as your template, the faster the process will go. So if you're only putting in the work once a week, it's going to take years. But if you're putting in the work every single day, it could take months, right? So not only are you relying on yourself and God's relying on you, but your children are relying on you and your Adams are relying on you. So you owe it to the Adams out there in your life that you care about and your future children to come to just work at it, be the best you can be, and stick close to the Lord. So that's